You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 40. It's part 2 of a 2-part series on how to dominate social media. And if you want to get better at Twitter, at Facebook, have more audience interaction, grow your audience, and sell more product to the people that you're talking to, that's what we're going to talk about on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money. Work less and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
David, I am 2 days away from finishing the first draft of my book.
That's what you think.
That's what I think. The first draft.
First draft. So it's coming along then.
It is coming along. I have been working on this thing since November.
That's going to feel really good.
Well, I sure hope so. And of course, it doesn't stop with the first draft. There's still so much work to be done with editing it and publishing it and all of those other wonderful steps. But it just kind of feels like a big milestone is coming up. So you're going to have to take me out to celebrate.
Well, when I am working on a book, the only thing that I want to do is get out and market it. But when I go out and market it, I think to myself, man, I sure wish I could just be in my cave writing the book.
The grass is always greener.
Always.
Yeah. But it kind of gets me excited about writing new books. And even though I'm probably pretty burnout at this point, I'm like, oh, yeah, you already get ideas for new books that you want to write down the line and put those out there. It's an exciting time.
It's like chess. You're playing 3 books ahead.
I don't think I've ever played chess.
Okay, well, that's
checkers.
how you play.
I played checkers. I don't think you do that in checkers.
No.
Yeah, you gotta play ahead.
This is the Red Podcast. Red stands for Real Entrepreneur Development.
Red is going to be for anyone out there who is running a business trying to spread their message. Whether that's bloggers, podcasters, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you're trying to get your message out there and make a 6-figure income doing it, that is what we talk about on this show.
If you want more engagement, you want people to actually care, this is the podcast for you. We go over varying topics 3 days a week, available at redpodcast.com, also iTunes, Stitcher, the usual places for podcasts. And today we are on part 2 of a 2-part series, and this is called How to Dominate Social Media. If you want number 1, the first part, go to redpodcast.com/39.
Yeah, because we had so many pieces of advice for social media that we did have to split it into 2 episodes. Because I think people open their business, they get started with business, they interact a little on social media, and it's just, they're not getting the engagement that they want. And they're not getting business from social media. And it just kind of becomes a waste of time if you're not doing it right. So this 2-part series has been a great way to really break down social media strategies and habits that work for any platform, any of the social media platforms that's going to help you get more engagement, build your audience, and grow your platform.
Social media has really had a lot of hype around it, and there are some people that will have you believe if you just get on Twitter, you just get on Facebook, everything about your business is going to be okay. You'll have the people that you need, you'll have the money that you need, you'll have the engagement that you need. That's just not the case.
Number 1, this is something that I found really works for me, is you make other people look good. And this can be other experts, you share their content on your pages or platforms, or you make some of your fans or audience members look good. But by taking the focus off yourself for a moment and interacting with somebody and making somebody else look good, it's just kind of good-natured and it helps you get more engagement from people.
It's what I would call authority through association. So if you can start associating yourself with other well-known experts, people are going to assume that you are on their level. And I'm not saying that you're not. But if you're trying to bump up your level, if if you're in the beginning throes of your career, that's the way to do it. Start associating yourself with people that are at the next level. And that works all around. We've talked about that when it comes to masterminds, when it comes to learning things, when it comes to who you want to connect with and who you want to model. It also works with how other people see you. Association and making them look good will help other people see you in a better way.
And this doesn't pertain to social media per se, but I was on somebody's website the other day, and she does a service associated with podcasting. And I went to her About page, and she had a picture, like multiple pictures of herself with a lot of the top podcasters that are around today. And again, it goes back to that authority through association. If she's standing beside all these top players in the industry and other top authors as well, in addition to podcasters, you're like, oh, she must be really good. You just make that assumption. Of course, that's why she did it. So just keeping that in mind with your social media.
Number 2, we talked a little bit about this on the last episode. We called it being human. You don't want to be just a robot that just broadcasts information to where it's a one-sided discussion. I guess it's not even a discussion, just a one-sided...
It's a soliloquy.
Well, number 2 on the list today, ask for something, then listen. And that could be something really, really simple. It could be, hey, I'll be in New York tonight. Do you have something good that's near Times Square? Maybe a recommendation for me to eat, maybe a recommendation for me to go to entertainment tonight. It could be something really simple for that, or it could be something directly to do with your business, such as what we asked on the last episode, and we'll ask it again here. If you've got a topic for Red Podcast, we would love to hear about it.
Absolutely. I think asking for something, and that's important, but the listening, I think, is more important, and continuing to engage with your audience when they do respond. I don't know if this has happened to you, David, but I've seen other people, especially on Twitter, that's my main platform. They put out something or they ask some question, and then you answer it and you never hear from them. And you're trying to engage, they're trying to engage with you, and then you engage with them and they drop the ball. So I think you got to keep the conversation going, and that's what we're calling listening here. Right,
and that loses trust. I also think, and again, we talked about this on the first part of this episode, which is redpodcast.com/39. I also think that we underestimate how important it can be for somebody to interact with you. For example, let's just use the term in general, let's call it celebrity. It used to be that there was a wall in between celebrities and the people that liked them. These days, thanks to Twitter, you can literally send a message. It has a pretty good chance of getting to the person that you want, and that person can interact with you. Well, how huge is that for a fan? You didn't have that 10, 20 years ago. Here's another thing that you don't have. Everybody can see that you had that interaction, so it gives them a little bit of social credit. Think about that, and when you ask for something, listen, and I love what you said, Laurel, then respond.
And I don't feel like, and tell me what your thoughts on this, David, but I don't feel like you always have to ask for something that's directly related to your business. I mean, you were talking about places to eat in a new city, things like that. I think it can be related to your business, but it can also just be something random that you'd like to engage with people on.
Yeah, you don't want to get completely off topic, but I think something that's going to show that you have personality, that you have humanity, that you're a human, as we talked about on the earlier episode of this. I think anything that shows that is going to get your audience more engaged with you than just being the broadcaster, the one-sided conversation.
And what we talked about last time too was keep social media social. And that's part of this, is keep it social, keep it fun, keep it light.
Number 3, have a call to action. Call to action sometimes is referred to as CTA. People think of that when it comes to sales pages. For example, would you like to buy from me? That would be a call to action, or order here now. But call to action can really be anything. When you're posting something on Twitter, on Facebook, on any of the social media platforms that you use, let people know what you want them to do with it.
A lot of times a call to action could just be check out this link or check out my podcast episode. I mean, that can be a call to action. It could be anything like take this survey or
Absolutely.
write me a review on iTunes or something like that. But if you want people, you don't have to do this in every post or anything like that. But if you want people to take an action, don't assume that they know what action to take. You want to call them to that action, make sure it's really clear. Do they click? Do they rate? What do they do? Tell them to do something.
Right. Even if it's just posting a link, don't just assume they know to click on that link. I'd say something like, click here for a discount. Click here to listen to my latest podcast. Don't just post the podcast link and expect that they know what to do with it or that they will do it.
Yeah, give people a little teaser. If you have a link on there, make sure people know what that link is about. Because one, they're more likely to click on it when they're given the topic of your latest podcast episode, for instance. But also, two, is that it helps them weed through everything on social media and figure out, okay, if they do want to click it or not. And it builds that trust with your fans and your audience.
Number 4, tag people. You see this on Facebook a lot. And sometimes Facebook will auto tag people now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It has facial recognition. It's quite amazing. But it's not just something for Facebook. It could be via Twitter. It could be any kind of social media that you do. Even something like a blog, what I would consider tagging, could be linking to the people that you're talking about. But if you have a guest on your podcast, you need to link to that person, or you need to tag them in the post that you're making. If you're at a seminar and you have a photo and you know who those people are, go ahead and tag those photos with those people's identities so they can know about the photo and they can start interacting with you. I think that's a really, really important one. Don't just have, as we call it, the nameless, faceless mob of people. Make it the individuals that that mob is made out of.
And tagging also helps people that are in the picture with you feel important. Not everybody likes to be tagged, but they can untag themselves. But it makes them feel like, oh, they had that interaction with you. It's, I don't know, it's somewhat special.
It's recognition. It shows that you recognize that they were part of something and that you're throwing them a bone when it comes to credibility or bringing people their way. It's sharing, as we said earlier. Number 1 from this one was make people look good. And you're making people look good by being associated with you.
Or even if you're at a seminar or a conference, you can do what the girl did that I was talking about earlier. Take your picture with these specific people and then tag them. Again, that's going to add to your credibility. It's going to show that you know people, and it's going to keep that association going.
Number 5, speaking of keep going, it's keep the momentum going. Don't just do the hit and run. Laurel, you mentioned it earlier when you talked about somebody that will ask a question, you answer it, and you never hear from them again. Don't do that. If somebody answers, keep it going, keep the conversation going. If somebody retweets, or if it's a popular post that you've had that gets a lot of interaction from people, keep it going. Do follow-up posts, follow-up comments, follow-up questions.
Also, if something starts to go, quote-unquote, viral, whatever that means for you, keep it going, keep on it. Because if you have the potential to really share your message with a lot more people, if you're more on it and watching it and commenting on it, if you can do that and just keep it going.
Number 6, be timely. And this works in a few ways. I try to be very timely as far as replying to people, especially on Twitter. Twitter is one of those things, because you only have 140 characters, it's easy for somebody to shoot a message off to you. It's easier for you to get back to them very, very quickly. Just hit the reply key. Do it right then. Don't say, I'll get to that later, and have to put the energy behind thinking about that. Just go ahead and do it right now. But also, because social media is so instant, we see a lot of things that are timely, let's say like news events or current events. Go ahead and get in the conversation now while things are going on. People do these things like what they call live tweeting, like maybe the Olympics or a live television event or a live event that they're at in person. Those things don't last beyond the event. So get involved when you can, as soon as you can. Take advantage of that timeliness, and you'll see a whole lot more interaction from people.
Well, David, in the last few minutes here, I want to talk about how you specifically use social media and how you find a balance and manage your time with social media. Because I find that a lot of people kind of swing one way or the other. They're on social media all the time, and that's all they do, and they're obsessed with it.